All right, now we're going to index, aka access elements. So remember how we tried to access the last character of the string called myString, where we said, hi, my name is Python? Well, in this case, we're going to access numbers within a NumPy array. All right, so do you remember what index arrays in Python start at? Well, Python is 0 indexed, so the answer to this is going to be 0. So if we want to get the first element, we have to use index 0. So let's put that here. And we get 1, which is the first element at index 0. And now if we try getting the second element, we're going to have to use index 1. And if we do this, we're going to get number 2. Voila. All right. That was accessing 1D arrays. That's when we have one dimension, we just have one set of brackets. If we move on to 2D arrays where we have 2 dimensions, so we're going to have rows and commas and columns, we're going to have to use comma-separated integers, which represent the dimension and the index of the element. Okay, so right off the bat, we can tell that this is a 2D array because it has one overarching set of brackets, and then within that, we have 2 different arrays with their own brackets. This means if we print this out, we're going to get 2 rows and 5 columns. So we have 2 arrays and 5 elements in each one. And you can think of 2D arrays as matrices in a way. And because we just said that there's going to be 2 rows and 5 columns, we know that our dot shape is going to give us 2, 5. And we can check that. There we go. All right, now let's try getting second element on first row. So we want the first row, and then we want the second element. That means that within this dimension, which is going to be the first dimension that you have to put in, we're going to have 0. Remember that Python is 0 indexed, so if we want the first row, we're going to have to do index 0. And then we have to take the second dimension, which is the columns, and specify that we want the second element. And that is going to be an index of 1. Once again, Python is 0 indexed. So when we pass this, we're going to get 2. There we go. Now, if we try to access the element on the second row and the 5th column, second row means that we need to pass an index of 1 into the first dimension, and the 5th column means that we need to pass an index of 4 into the second dimension. We run that, we get 10, which is, let's look at it. Second row, 5th element, 10. Okay, and now we want to access the number 1. And if we remember correctly, or we just look back at it, number 1 is in the first row and it's the first element, 1, 1. But Python is 0 indexed, so we have to do 0, 0. There we go, we get 1. Now if we want to get 10, which was the last element in the array, we have to get the second row and the 5th element, which means 2, 5, but we subtract 1 from each because Python is 0 indexed, and we get 1, 4. There we go. All right, now accessing 3D arrays. We're going to use comma-separated integers again, but it's going to be a bit harder this time. And you can see here that there's going to be 3 dimensions because the smallest array that we can pick out has 1 set of brackets, 2 sets of brackets, and then 3 sets of brackets covering it. All right, so what is the shape of this array? Well, let's look at this. We have one overarching array. Within it, we have 1, and 2 different arrays. So that is going to make our first dimension have a shape of 2. All right, and then we go in. So within this smaller subarray, we have 1 and 2 additional subarrays. So now we're going to have 2 as our second dimension. And now for our third dimension, we're going to look within this smallest array and then see that there are 3 elements. In each one, there are 3, which means that our final dimension, the third one, is going to have a shape of 3. So this is what we are going to get when we do r.shape. We can check 2, 2, 3. There we go. And we will write this down right here. Okay, now let's get a specific element. We want the third element of the second array of the first array. Quite convoluted. But let's see. First array indicates index 0. Second array of the first array indicates index 1. And the third element indicates an index of 2 for the third dimension. Let's run this. We're going to get the number 6, which makes sense. Third element of the second array of the first array. First array is here. Second array is here. Third element is here. All right. And try this yourself without code. What is the first element of the first array of the second array? All right. First element of the first array of the second array. Second array is this. First array is this. First element is 7. So we write here 7. And let's look at R and then pass in 3 values for the 3 dimensions. Okay. So first element of the first array of the second array. Our first dimension is going to be corresponding to this second array. That is going to give us an index of 1, 2 minus 1. And then we look at the second dimension, first array. That's going to give us an index of 0 because Python is 0 index. So the first element always has an index of 0. And then the third dimension, we're going to put in an index of 0 because it's going to be the first element of that array. There we go. It's a 7. Okay, now we want to access the number 11. Last exercise. So 11 is, let's work our way from either the outside in or the inside out. I'm going to go outside in. So within this whole array, within this whole 3D NumPy array, we need to get to the second array. And we have to get to the second array of the second array. And then if we want the number 11, we have to get to the second element. So 2, 2, 2, except Python is 0 index, so we have to do 1, 1, 1. R 1, 1, 1. And we get 11.